What is going on, basketball lovers and hoop heads? Welcome back to Checkup. Man, it feels like it's been a minute since I've made one of these, and it's kind of been like a week and a half since I've really worked on a project. So I took some time. I took a little break for Christmas because it was Christmas. I'm sorry, but we are back. Not fully, because today I'm doing a lazy video. I'm being lazy. If I'm just being honest, we're doing a lazy topic because I need something easy to get back into the swing of things. And there is truly nothing easier in the basketball world than talking about the greatness of Nikola Jokic. If you're a basketball fan and you were tuned out on NBA Day Christmas basketball, I feel sorry for you because there were a lot of good games. Cavs-Knicks was a lot of fun. Spurs-Thunder was, I'm sure, fun for non-Thunder fans. I turned that shit off about halfway through, but I'm sure it was fun for the rest of you. Warriors-Mavs wasn't too bad. Lakers-Rockets, big stinker. And then, man, the nightcap to end things off was a legendary basketball game between two teams that despise one another. And that makes for beautiful, beautiful basketball. And Nikola Jokic showed up to play, man. He absolutely balled out. We're talking 56 points. 16 assists and 15 rebounds. Absurd stat line. Comical, not real. 2K numbers. And yet, here we were watching a Christmas Day miracle as Jokic just tore apart and ripped this game away from the Wolves. What a magical moment, and what really a truly impressive season it's been from Jokic so far. I mean, firmly, of course, he's in the MVP race once again. To some, he's probably leading it. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not going to speak on that today, but having maybe his best season ever, which is an absurd thing to say for a guy who has accomplished what Jokic has accomplished in his career, and yet it's a completely feasible thing to say. His efficiency is at an all-time high. His touch when you're watching him, it's magical. If he's around the basket, the ball is going in the hoop. I don't care what you're doing to defend him. The ball is going in the hoop the way that he wants it to. And we all know that Jokic is probably the best playmaker in the NBA currently. And it's just, he orchestrates every game the way that he wants to. And for the most part, he can determine the outcome of almost every basketball game that he wants to, which is just absurd. And it's unlike, we just don't, players like this don't come along very often. And Jokic is magic. So today, I just want to go through Jokic's game against the Wolves. We're going to talk about some of the buckets there, just talk about the season that's been. Of course, we're going to talk about his playmaking, and we're going to make this a simple, short one. So come along for the journey. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Let's hop into the hoops. I said that I wasn't going to talk about the MVP race in this. I lied. I just want to give my 2 cents on it real quick. I don't want to make this like a long diatribe or anything, but I see a lot of people saying that, after the Thunder's recent streak, we've lost 4 of 6 or something like that. I've seen people say that, Jokic is now the club leader for MVP. And while I may not necessarily disagree, I probably disagree, but I think this race is super, super close. And that is so much credit given to Jokic, especially because the Thunder could still very easily win 70 games. And for a team to win 70 games and for us to be able to have a conversation about another guy being MVP feels insane. But, Jokic is having one of his best seasons ever. We're looking at a guy who's averaging 30, 12, and 11 at 7 feet. The most assists he's ever averaged in his career. It's not the highest point total, but it's close. He's shooting 60% from the field. He's shooting 44% from 3. That's so dumb. And I just feel like the offensive orchestration has just been on another level this year. And the only reason that his numbers aren't quite as good, and really the reason I would say he's not the MVP to me, is because he does kind of turn it off and on, and that's the disappointing thing. And you can't give max effort for 82 games. I understand that. That's an impossible ask. But there are games where he will just take games off. And I've seen people who follow Denver, like Denver beat reporters and people, they agree with this. Jokic will just take games off. And then there are other times where he'll put up almost 60 points and 15 assists in a game to lead the Nuggets to a win. So the inconsistent effort is interesting, but it's just so crazy that when he's locked in on the defensive end and the offensive end, like it's just there's almost nothing that can stop him. It's absurd. There is nothing that can stop him. There's no Jokic stopper. It's wild. And so he is just such an impressive individual, having such an impressive season. To me, and again, I'm biased because I'm an OKC fan, I don't think he's going to be the MVP at the end of the year, but he is having a magical, magical basketball season. And if you are, for some reason, hating on Jokic, like, I don't know where your head's at. This is like top 2 most impressive basketball player I've ever seen in my life. But let's go ahead. Let's skip on to the game against the Wolves. Let's break down some of his offensive possessions, and let's have a little fun. I don't know how much credence you guys want to give me in this video here because I'm not the smartest basketball mind out there, but just watching the little things that Jokic does is really what makes him so magical to me. He's always in correct positioning, again, on the offensive end of the floor. He just has such a vast knowledge of where to be and when and how do I manipulate angles on people. Whether I'm on the ball, whether I'm off the ball, it doesn't matter. And one of those things that he just excels in is he's the putback king. He, especially his own shot, but he'll also just put back his teammates' shots constantly. Excuse my taskbar right there. But just this like simple, just like gathering that, keeping the ball high, putting it right back in the rim and getting fouled in the meantime, like... believe it or not, like if you've ever played basketball or like if you've ever watched basketball, like not all bigs are good at that. Like people aren't always good at that. There's like this inherent thing in your mind where you like want to bring the ball down or whatever, but like he always is just so good about grabbing the ball and just throwing it right back in, and it always goes in. Always goes in. Put back king. It is such an exceptional, underrated skill. I feel like, and you know, I haven't been watching the NBA for like I've been watching the NBA closely for like 5 years, and I've been watching the NBA for 10 years, if that makes sense. You know, but to me, Jokic has revolutionized the game and just the way that he's the inverted pick and roll with a big handling the ball and you know, using a guard and, you know, it's been like DHO actions and all that. Like, he has just changed the game for that kind of stuff. And it is just, it's so useful to have a big with guard skills who can handle the ball, who can do things like this, just because it manipulates the defense in a certain way that's just so unexpected and so difficult to guard. So here, you know, Murray faked the little backdoor cut. He's going to come back around. They're looking for this, you know, DHO action. It's Murray, Jokic pick and roll, classic stuff the Nuggets run all the time. But, you know, I'd say Anthony Edwards does a good job of kind of like icing this away from Jamal and not letting him get to the handoff. And Julius Randle kind of like shifts his feet up towards the 3-point line to prevent the handoff, and Jokic just feeling that little shift just turns on a whim, gets Julius on his hip, and just right to the basket for a layup. And just noticing that, and again, that's like at the 3-point line, and then he's got to turn, whip, and get to the rim. Like guys who play in the post, like in the low post, obviously, like if you've a guy at a certain angle on your hip, you know, you should spin this way, you should hook this way, whatever. But like doing that at the 3-point line is a different thing altogether, and not a lot of players can do it. And Jokic has changed the game of basketball because he can. Probably be the last little bucket, and then I'll skip to overtime because I want to talk about overtime primarily. And again, I want this to be a shorter-ish video. But magic of the inverted pick and roll here once again. So we have a stagger screen on the strong side here. Weak side's loaded with shooters. This stagger screen, you know, we're starting Naz Reid is guarding Bruce Brown. Julius is on, Jokic, and Ant here is on Tim Hardaway Jr. So Ant switches onto Bruce Brown, putting Naz Reid on Tim Hardaway Jr. So we get the little pass here to the middle of the floor with Jokic. Hardaway is going to come over to set a screen, presumably to pick and pop off of it. But the magic that this is doing is we're bringing two bigs into the play, right? Like, big guys aren't used to being screen navigators on ball handlers. And so Naz Reid is also not an exceptional defender. So we're bringing two bigs into a pick and roll action in areas that they're not usually comfortable defending and areas that are not normal to them. And you can kind of tell just how weird it is. Like Julius Randle is like, I'll kind of sag off because I know I'm going to have to like duck under or whatever to stay with Jokic. And Nas doesn't step up to switch immediately or anything. And Jokic just gets a wide open three out of this. And it's, those guys just don't really know how to play perfect pick and roll defense, especially not defending the ball handler. So, again, just the magic of the inverted pick and roll. Let's skip ahead to some overtime buckets because that's Jokic had some absolutely amazing shots in that one. So, as a quick reminder, look at the score down there on the bottom. Sorry that my loading bar is kind of covering everything, but Minnesota goes up 9 early. 9 points in 2 minutes in early overtime, and it's like, oh shit, this game might be over. Nuggets called timeout, right? And right out of the timeout, immediately we get a pin down for Jokic, and he just rips this bad boy. Bam. Just steps up, confident, knock it down. Now we're back within 6. All right, 6 is feasible. And guess what? Another 3. 2 threes within 1 minute. This man is mean. He's mean. And remember that 9-point lead we were just looking at? Jokic hits 2 threes in 1 minute. They got another bucket in there somehow. I think Jamal maybe hit a shot. So Minnesota's only up 2 minute and a half left. Jokic again coming off another pin down. We get the screen and roll at the top of the key with Jamal and Jokic. They switch. That little stutter hezzy just right over the top. Beautiful lay. Just bounces right into the rim, right where he wants it. That was his last made bucket of the game. The rest of the points, he had a lot of free throws in overtime, and the Wolves kind of blew this one for themselves. But, man, Jokic was just on a magical scoring run in this one. 15 of 21 for 56 points. Absurd stuff. But let's go ahead and skip over and talk about his playmaking. Really beautiful play to get us going here. Jokic initiating action at the top of the court. We have is that Strother coming up to initiate the action. Obviously, you saw Jokic look for the pass on the roll to Strother. Not there, so he throws it back up to Jamal. We get a little pick and roll. Switch the action. So you hold up Julius Randle here, forcing the help from Naz Reid at the nail. And then Jokic, he knows that Peyton Watson's man has come over to provide help to prevent the run to the rim, and just throws it right over to the opposite wing. That was 3 little mini actions that he just ran through, boom, 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 and then just right to the open guy, right to the right guy he needs to go. 2. This is just some really heads up stuff here. The Timberwolves have this little error, but just look at the way that Jokic, I want to rewind this real quick, but just look at the way that as soon as he grabs the ball off of the steal, he's just turning his head. He's assessing the floor. He's like, okay, where are my guys? Where are my guys? I need to know where everybody's at. Just look at him. He literally looks for all of his guys on the court, and he's like, okay, who's going to be the most open? And he knows who it's going to be. And he's like, all right, just little shovel pass off to Jamal, let him get right to the rim. That's just, it's heads up. It's smart. It's the right play. Another excellent example of Jokic running in transition. So he's going to pull this ball off the rim, start running. Again, he knows where all of his guys are. And positionally, when you're looking at this, Bones, as he's coming down the floor, is kind of matched up with Jamal Murray. But there's only 2 Wolves defenders on this side of the court. We have 3 Nuggets, and then 2 Wolves defenders over here, and 1 Nugget. So Bones starts to float towards the middle of the floor to tag Tim Hardaway, make sure he doesn't get right to the rim. And as soon as he gets to the middle of the floor, far enough away from Jamal Murray, this live dribble pass just right across his body, straight into Jamal's pocket, just perfectly timing it up for the transition 3. Beautiful stuff. All right, last little, assist we'll run over here. I don't think Jokic had a ton of, highlight assists in this one as much as it was just, methodically just always making the right play. Tons of handoffs to open buckets, mid-range buckets, threes, whatever. Nothing crazy, but I really like this fun little play design. So we're set up in horns here. We got Jokic and Murray on the horns, I suppose we want to call it, but they're on our wings. We get this nice little entry pass to the high post here with Jokic, and then immediately come to set this kind of cross screen action. And I gotta say, I think Ant was pretty bad defensively in this one. He got cooked in a lot of this pick and roll tape, and there's no communication telling Naz Reid to go switch over onto Jamal Murray here. So Jamal is just wide open. Rudy is way too far back and dropped. And Jamal gets a wide open three. Like I said, not a ton more like highlight assists in this one, but just a lot of methodical, just magic, just making the right play constantly. Hey, folks, that's just going to about wrap me up today here for this video. Like I said, I want this one to be a little shorter. Hopefully it comes out to that. I don't know. Every time I say I want it to be shorter, it comes out to like 20 minutes. So, yikes. But hopefully this one wasn't that. Hopefully you enjoyed if you made it all the way here. It is a pleasure to watch Nikola Jokic play basketball, and I hope we continue to get to do it for a very long time. It is magical, and I hope you take advantage of the fact that he's prime. He's in his prime, and he's still healthy. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Go ahead and like this video. Subscribe if you're new here and you want to stick around. I post basketball content 2 times a week. If you want to follow me at any of my other socials, they are down in the description below. Share this with your friends, family, whoever you think might enjoy this basketball content. And I do hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye.